I use the spray bottle to get the M100 wet because it's more easier to control. If you dump it in, all of a sudden it can be too wet. And you only mix up little bits like this at a time, because it'll set fairly quickly.
And then if you don't get it the same consistency each time, does that matter then when it dries, the amount of water, and then when it dries a different color, or it's...
Not really. This is a little bit too wet. What I'm going to do is leave that in there. And this stuff, what you want to do is wear gloves, get this wet again, and then you want to do what you call a slurry coat. So it's really wet in there, and you're really working it in to kind of, this is like the base adhering coat, if you will. You can actually brush it on. If you want to make it slurry, you could brush it on too. And I use it in your hand. And you want to squeegee the edges so they seal over. You know what I'm saying? And then go back, clean the brick edge off. Generally, a woman has the touch for more patience on this, and you want to do than a man does, and you want to do this before you point, so that you don't get your pointing mortar, you know, all smeared up with the red.
And do the bricks need to be cleaned first? Or?
Yes. You want to push this towards itself, so you're sealing the edges.
going back in just far enough to get a clean edge? Is that?
Mm-hmm. And the brick, the edges on all the bricks vary. You know, when you look at them, they're all different. There's not a right or wrong look to it. Now you can see it setting up already. If you have a polished brick, I'm gonna push it back so it seals the edges. If you have a polished brick, you can actually polish these up. You can put a sealer on it if you want to. Now let's get this corner right here. I had too much caffeine this morning. My hand feels a little shaky. So you're sealing that in.
New doing this, do you have to work at like, do I have to work at the same pace you're doing, or that might not, you know, obviously I'm not as skilled as you are.
I would start bad. So we'll just kind of level off the top here. See how some of it's getting more shiny, because that's still kind of wet. I just want to make sure there's plenty on there for me to work. Push that to the back. We call this an acorn tool because it looks like an acorn there, but other people call them other things. Now, what you do at this point is start to scrape the surface. You want to go away from the edges. Because if you go towards the edge, it's going to want to chip off.
And if it chips off, then can you just go back and...
You can go back and fix it. It's no big deal. See, this one is, corner is sticking out quite a little, or a little bit more than this brick, so I'm just kind of scraping it so it doesn't stick out too far. Not concerned where between the two bricks being, you don't want the water to catch on the ledge as much, so to make sure it doesn't stick out too far. Then you take your water, gently mist it. You got a toothbrush with fuzz on it. Make some marks in it. You can take your tip and see there's a crack right there, there's a mark right here, there's a mark right there. You can make little dents in it, indentations in it. Hit it with a brush. It just basically becomes artsy. And because there's so many different bricks in here, take one of these kinds of brushes.
Wow. And when that dries, will that color be drastically different from the bricks that are there now?
It might, and it might not be. I don't really know. But I'm not too concerned about the color. I usually answer things kind of nebulously like that because there are so many variables. So what you do now, can you rinse that out? Before it's set, some of the aggregate that's in the M100 will show through. It'll look a little white. If you look at it there, see it's a little white. See the little bits of white there? But you can work on, see the little bit, It looks a little sandy. You can work on that and kind of work that out, if you will, or work it in so that the pigment covers that.
Okay, and if you don't, then when it dries, will you see
It'll be almost identical to what it is here.
Okay.
But when you start looking at the bricks, there's some lighter ones, there's darker red ones, there's da-da-da. By the time you're all done, it's really kind of hard to tell. So then what I do often is I'll take the tip of my acorn tool, a tiny little bit of black pigment, put in there, maybe a little bit more, and put the lid on it so it doesn't spill all over. I'm saying that from experience. And then, I mean, there's a little bit of water in there from washing the bowl out, but you can take your brush then, dip in this black, and kind of blacken it up. You can take some of the different reds. We have two or three different reds.
Now, can you go back, like once, like let's say you had to do several bricks, and then it dries, and then you look at it and say, oh gosh, I see some of these look like they really stick out. Can you go back with that pigment and?
You can, yeah, but it's better to do it while it's wet. Okay. So I do it as it goes, and once you get started, that is faster than taking a brick out.
Oh gosh, yes, I can.
In my mind, it's faster. Now stuff's expensive, but it's faster. And when you stand back and look at it, or you ask somebody, point out which bricks have been refaced, it's almost impossible to tell. You have, now this one's bright red and this one's or orangish, and this is orangish and this is not. But if we were to get some of our Peckway Scarlet, which is more of a purple pigment, or our brick red, and then we actually have the Titian, which is orange, you can actually tint them different colors just with the pigments that you have, and then you kind of it becomes artistic. It's what is going to stand out and what's not going to stand out. Now, I wouldn't do anything, see, like that doesn't look far from there. Right. But if you do a cleaning on this and get rid of all the carbon, you're not going to want the black one there.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So the cleaning is the first thing we're going to
do. Yes, and then determine. Now the M100 comes in that they have a standard red.